Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Two for One podcast. I am Liam Murphy.
And I'm Jimmy Paganis. So this podcast is just going to be us two talking about hoops. We love basketball, and that's what we love to do. We've been talking to each other about hoops for a while now. We just text and get going. So, yeah, we're just going to jump right in. So we're at a point right now in the season where Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals is an exciting time. So yeah, Liam, what do you think so far about the playoffs and how it's played out? So just just tell me a little bit about so far the landscape of the playoffs, what you think.
Well, gosh, at this point, there have been a lot of surprises. My bracket got pretty busted early on because I made some incorrect predictions. There's been a lot of surprises for me. For one, the Phoenix Suns were my pick to win it all this year.
Mine too, mine too.
And Jimmy and I talked about this a good amount. Like we like text and praise the Suns. They just the NBA season. It looked like the Suns were up here, and the rest of the league was down here pretty much throughout the entire season. Um, the Suns look so elite this year. D Book had a great year. Chris Paul had a great year. The team just played so fluidly, and then the playoffs came along, and they're second round out and go out in an ugly fashion, down a 30
Yeah,
plus point loss.
crazy. I remember right after the season, I was like, there is no team that can beat this team in a 7 game series. No team can beat them 4 times in a 7 game series. And man, did the Mavericks just come in and they went down, but Luka Doncic, oh my gosh, that Luka magic, and he just destroyed them. He did anything he wanted to them. Reggie Bullock, I don't know what happened to him, but his defense and what he did on the court in that series was ridiculous. I know Jason Kidd coached an amazing series, and I think a big part of that um, was what they did with Chris Paul. They completely took him out of the
Hmm.
game. Each each of like the last 3 games, Chris Paul was like a non-factor, and Reggie Bullock was picking him up full court in his jersey. Didn't even let him get the ball. Gave Chris Paul no room at all, and I think that was one of the huge difference makers. But then you got Maxi Kleber hitting all the shots. You got Spencer Dinwiddie in the last game, playing like an all-star. Um, but yeah, it was that series. That series was something I did not expect for
Yeah,
sure. I really thought Phoenix was going to get that in like five or
yeah. I
six.
was saying that was my prediction too. My buddy who's a Mavs fan even thought like, yeah, we're going out. Maybe we get 5 or 6, But the Mavs did their thing. Role players came through. Kleba, Bertans, Brunson play more than a role player to me, but like his first series was insane. With Luca missing time. And the fact they held it down, I in my bracket, which I'm ashamed of this prediction. In my bracket, I had them going out in the first round because I'm like, they're without Luca. How good are these guys gonna play without Luca? And they held it down.
They That was crazy, and the fact that they ended that series with that massive win. They were up like 45 plus at one point. Um, just domination from a team that you did not expect to to dominate. Um, but the playoffs so far has been amazing. But what was the biggest surprise for you? Was it that series or was it something
I
else?
I think that was the biggest surprise to me. And one thing another thing that surprised me. Um, I'm not surprised at their general success, but the level of the Celtics' success is is incredible. I was aware obviously of their defense being number one ranked in the league, or they had like the number one defensive rating or tied for that. I was aware of how great they were at that, but not to the extent it locked up Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in that first round series, and I had a bold prediction. I'm like, oh, Nets are gonna take this in seven, maybe. Like these are two of the best guys at putting the ball in the hoop in the world ever, ever. And I mean, like, Clark Kellogg will say it in 2K, like, sometimes better offense beats good defense, and I was like, I was going to
Yeah.
try and stick by that. And the Celtics did their thing. They handled their business. The games were narrow, but it was a sweep.
Yeah. No, I mean, you think about that, and the Celtics defense all playoffs just smothering. I mean, against
Rocks.
KD and Kyrie to be able to just to take him out almost. I mean, Kevin Durant, we get used to him shooting over 50% a game, and one, it's crazy for us to have those expectations of like, oh, if he doesn't shoot over 50%, he's having a bad game. But the Celtics did it. The Celtics put that pressure, and if you think about it, um, they have like all the right personnel. They have like wings with length and size and athleticism. They have multiple defenders. I mean, 1 through 5. They can play a lineup that 1 through 5
Oh,
switches, and they
yeah.
can throw everyone at Kevin Durant, even from their point guard like Marcus Smart, like bullying him and just like hitting them in the low post and just putting pressure on him. I mean, it was crazy to see Kevin Durant have a series like that, but I don't think it was necessarily like an awful series. I don't know how people are saying like, really, you think KD's washed right now? I don't know how you
That's
think
wild.
that KD's one of the best in the league. I mean, what he did with in that series, I think in game 3 he had like 29 points. To have 29 points with the defense playing the way they did is incredible. And I don't care what anyone says, this does not discredit KD's legacy or nothing. This was just great
Bro.
basketball and great defense by the Celtics. That's all that was. And they had Jason Tatum, who was ready for the challenge. They had Jaylen Brown, who could put a body on him. They had Grant Williams. Al Horford took a shot. Marcus Smart took a shot. They have guys all throughout their roster that can come in and just play 2 minutes, play 3 minutes, play 15 minutes on Kevin Durant and actually be a factor. And that was
Yeah,
crazy to
yeah,
me.
right on. I mean, the KD slander was taken to a whole nother level. I saw somebody tweet, KD was never better than Steph Curry. Like, bro, this 2009 to 2014, like, not like exists, bro. Like, people just went crazy on KD. Like, I mean, I don't. The man's a two-time NBA champion, MVP, two-time Finals MVP, multiple four-time scoring champ. Is that right?
Something
He's
like that.
very. I mean, he's a great player. I don't get the slander. The Celtics just played incredible defense, and much credit to them. They shut him down. He looked. I mean, for the most part, like KD's numbers for him looked obviously awful. But like if you look at like an average player or like like some other guy, oh he left it all on the floor. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
No, and then continuing even with the Celtics to what they did to Milwaukee as well. I mean, no Chris Middleton for sure, but I mean, I don't care if Chris Middleton played or not. What they did, what they were able to hold Giannis to, Giannis was incredible as
Yeah.
always. I mean, he's an alien. I mean, he's not from this planet. Um, I've never seen someone that can just go at his level for 48 minutes and just not stop and do whatever he wants whenever he wants, just get to the basket whenever he wants. But the fact that the Celtics were able to, Giannis still had a great series, but at least contain him
Mhm.
to not letting him have that overpowering where they take the series. And in Game 7, what they were able to do, just throw bodies at him, wall up, and not let him get to the paint, was incredible. I mean, once again, I talked about the personnel, but it couldn't have been built any better for guys like Kevin Durant and
Mhm.
Giannis. Their two best players for the Celtics, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, aren't only good offensive players, but they're incredible defensive players, and they've stepped up this playoffs. Like I did not expect them. to raise their level that high. I knew they were good two-way players, but they took it to another level this series.
Definitely, definitely. And dude, Al Horford has been incredible. I mean, I thought I thought Al's career was kind of like, like he was gonna retire pretty soon. Like, after that time in OKC, he actually still had solid numbers in OKC. But I just thought, like, like it's just,
They benched
yeah,
him. They
exactly.
said we don't want you
But
playing.
man, it's good to see Al Horford back in a Celtics uniform and playing such high level basketball for them. Great defense. He had, what was it, a 30-point game in game 5? I think after Giannis dunked on him, he looked like this, and
Yeah,
then
you gave him the
then
look.
he dunks
Yeah.
on Giannis. I'm just like, wow, it was incredible to watch, and the Celtics are the real deal. They're the real deal.
Yeah, they for sure are, and we'll talk about
Yeah.
them more later when we get into this Eastern Conference Finals. But um, one thing I do want to mention is, so we talked about the teams that moved forward, but there's teams that didn't move forward, and I'm wondering, is there going to be any repercussions going into next season? And one team I think of when that question is asked is the Utah Jazz. That's right. And I mean, what do you think's going to happen with them?
Got to hit the rebuild button there. They haven't found, what has it been? It's been 3 straight years. What was it? I mean, since they got Donovan, or like, well, since they got Donovan, I think they made the second round with Donovan's rookie year. Um, do you remember what happened 2019? 2019 Utah.
Is that the bubble year?
No, 2020 was the bubble. They didn't get out of the first round in the bubble. They blew a 3-1 lead to Denver. 2019, I don't remember.
That's
But
right.
the point being,
They
uh, le-
was it the second round they got out?
they might have. It was probably something like that. And then in 2020, in this past year's playoffs, they blew a lead to the Clippers, the Kawhi-less Clippers. No Kawhi in like the final 2 games, I want to say. So this team has just not shown an ability to get past the second round, despite being the 1 seed
No.
last year. Like, it's just, I think things need to change definitely there.
Yeah. And in 2019, they lost 4 games to 1 in the first round against the Rockets.
That's what happened.
So
Okay.
even worse than we
Yeah.
expected or remembered. But something's got to change. I mean, I don't know. They need better players. They need better wing players for sure. I don't know if Mike Conley's the point guard anymore for them. He had a great year in that bubble
Hmm.
when they got him. He was playing great, and I
Struggled.
think his I think his like the beating his body's been taking all these years is catching up to him. I think he's slowing down. I don't think he's that guy to pair with Donovan Mitchell. And I mean the wings have to get better. They have like Royce O'Neal starting, great player, great role player, but doesn't really provide that offensive
Hmm.
punch when he's on the floor. Great defender, but he's undersized at the 3. I think he's only like 6'5", 6'6". So they definitely need some more help on the wing. I think they need help at the big position as well. I think you keep Donovan Mitchell and you try to get rid of everyone else really and build around him. He showed he's shown what he can do. His defense has definitely been awful, but I think part of that is the motivation factor. I think if you build the right team around him, get him a little more excited, I think you'll be able to see a little more effort on the defensive end
And
from him.
you brought up another problem with the motivation factor. The whole morale in Utah is really bad right now. There's been talks about like beef with, and with Donovan and Rudy. Rudy's like, oh, wasn't there something about Rudy saying it's him or me, or like some source said something about Rudy saying that
Someone released it and then they said,
it's
"Oh,
not
that
true.
wasn't true," but you never know. Yeah.
Yeah, I maybe the new green hair. Donovan wants to leave with Rudy's new green hair, but not.
Well, I've been on this for since they re-signed Gobert. I mean, my opinion's either like Donovan Mitchell is just going to demand a trade, or they're just going to be stuck in this awful position for the next 5 years where they can't do anything because Rudy Gobert is going to be making 40 million, $50 million in his like fifth year of this contract. And it's hard because you have these two guys. Donovan Mitchell is going to sign like the supermax. Rudy Gobert just signed his max deal. That's a lot of money just tied up in two
Mhm.
guys. Mike Conley's still on a big contract too. I mean, there's it's not a surprise that they have no one else to really help them. I mean, Jordan Clarkson probably brought the biggest offensive help other than like Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, and
Yeah,
Bogdan had his spurts for sure. But I mean, it's a lot of money tied into two or three guys, and I think Donovan Mitchell might probably is upset. I think he's upset already, but I think it might boil over to the point where he wants out because he sees no future with with Gobert.
yeah. There's so much turmoil in Utah. I mean, it's hard because they've put themselves in such a rough position by giving Gobert the contract. He is an enormous contract, and not only that, but Utah to begin with, ain't nobody wants to play in Utah. Like nobody wants to get the mountains are cool.
They're not getting a free agent.
Yeah, like no big name free agent. Like, you know what? I want to go to Utah. Like nobody's thinking like that. Like they'd have to be really, really good for some big name free agent. Yeah, that's where I want to play. But yeah, things they're in trouble. I mean, I think you either build around Donovan or you just hit the
Yeah,
whole reset button because things just haven't worked out. You know,
for sure. And and Rudy in 2025, 2026 season will be making $46.7 million.
and how old will he be
I
by
mean,
then too? Like he'll be pretty
he'll
old,
be 33.
33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just an absurd amount of money to give a guy like Rudy
Hmm.
Gobert. Um, but there's one thing that excites me about the Utah Jazz, and that is that Danny Ainge is now in
That's true.
charge, and he's calling the shots.
Danny
I mean,
Ainge,
that that makes me excited.
that I agree. Danny Ainge is a genius with he was a genius with the Celtics, man. I mean that Paul Pierce KG trade for them, all the picks they got, like that was massive for them. And they what was it? They spent 1 year out of the playoffs. 1 year out of the playoffs
Yeah,
after that. And they've just been a good team ever since then. Maybe an eight. It might have been. I think they're an eight seed in 2015, but in 2020. But I just remember the Celtics have just been very good, a very consistently good basketball team for years. I mean, obviously historically we know, but like just I'm talking recent years and job, Danny Ainge has done with them, and yeah, I'm happy to see
yeah,
Brad Stevens be in charge now too. I mean, it's cool to see him step up from coaching
yeah,
to in the front
for sure.
office.
He's just going up the ladder. For Danny Ainge, I mean, he's done great things with Boston for sure. He was able to build an incredible team. But what makes me so excited is that he doesn't care. He traded Isaiah Thomas when the
It's
fans loved
true.
him and he gave his heart and soul to the team. I mean, he is willing to do anything to get the players that he wants. I mean, he was bold enough to convince the 76ers that Jason Tatum wasn't the number one pick. And they traded down to draft Jason Tatum. They traded down in the draft. They traded from 1 to 3, and they drafted Jason Tatum. I mean, I'm excited. I hope he pulls off some wild stuff like that to get rid of a superstar or bring in a superstar. That's probably the only thing I'm excited about when it comes to the Utah
Yeah,
Jazz.
no, I agree. Definitely with that for sure. One other uh like effect with these playoff performances. What decision do you think the Suns make on DeAndre Ayton? Do they still pay him? Or give him? Well, they're gonna have to, like, if they want to keep him. I don't know. What do you think they do?
Yeah. it stinks because I think they should definitely
So,
pay him and keep him, but based on kind of what's been going on, and especially after the last game, he declined to talk to the media. Monty Williams and Devin Booker
mm,
kind of briefly addressed it, as Monty Williams said it's why he didn't play so much. It's something internal, and that Devin Booker said just whatever happens, just want his mental to be right. But I think he's gone, and I think it's a shame
yeah,
because I think he's a really good player, and I think he's a really good modern center. Um, I really think he's able to. I mean, he's got good touch around the rim. He's a roller who's athletic enough to catch lobs. Um, Maybe he doesn't have the outside shot, but
he's got a
he's
little
shown like
midi.
flashes in the
Yeah.
mid range. Yeah, and but defensively, he is able to keep up with a small
Hmm.
ball offense. He's not a liability really out there. He's able to move his feet well enough um, to to not be such a liability on a switch or anything. He's able to just be able to um, he's able to stay on the floor. Like you see a lot of centers now that just in the fourth quarter don't touch the court because they get played off the court. And DeAndre Ayton's just not one of them. And I think it's a real shame because he's so young, and he's young, but he also has performed already well in the
Yes.
biggest stage in the
Yes.
finals. And I think that's hard. It's hard not to pay him. But when you think about the Suns and you think about Robert Sarver, their owner, I don't think he's willing to go into the luxury tax to
Hmm.
keep him. It's a shame because he should stay in Phoenix, but it does make me curious at what they're going
Yeah.
to do
I mean, he
next.
played Aiden. Arizona guy. He played at Arizona. Played his high school ball. I think in Phoenix. It'd be a shame for him to go. Uh, it's just crazy because I just felt like going into like the postseason. I'm like, all right, well, it's live. Nobody's getting Aiden. They're gonna pay him, obviously, but like just like the effect just a playoff series and like a couple of games can have on the future of a player with the team is it's crazy. It's crazy. That's something I realized, with that and with Simmons last year. Like I mean, like it's just crazy how like just some playoff games can just spiral into like a tough decision. Tough.
Yeah, and like you said, after last year, you're like, oh, they're for sure they're gonna sign the extension, done deal. He's there for the next 5 years, but they didn't. They withheld. They didn't re-sign him. They didn't sign or offer him the extension, and that was just weird. I mean, when that came out, it was just like, no way. What are they doing? What could they possibly be waiting for? But they waited, and they waited the whole thing out. And I would be shocked right now if he's going to be a Phoenix Sun next year. I would be
I
shocked.
wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't know how the Bulls could possibly land him, but if we can, I don't. DeAndre
I
Ayton,
mean, a
come if
little
you're
sign and
listening,
trade.
come to Chicago, man. Come. We would love you here.
No, I'll, we would, and a lot of teams would
Yes,
definitely love
everybody gonna
DeAndre
go after
Ayton.
him. I mean, we got to resign. We got to focus on resign Zach. But DeAndre,
Yeah, once baby
yeah,
steps.
baby steps. Um, yeah, so that's definitely a question this offseason. I'm so excited to see how that plays out. I mean, a young, talented center. We'll see what happens with that. Um, yeah, but that's I think we should transition to the draft lottery, which occurred yesterday. Uh,
That's
that's
right.
exciting. The future is exciting. Always excited to think about the
Yeah,
future.
yeah. So the top five picks. You got Orlando at one, Oklahoma City at two, Houston three, the Sacramento Kings at four, and the Pistons at five. Um, One thing got to be exciting for Orlando Magic fans. I feel like they haven't had um, that high lottery pick in a while. Last year they had Suggs, um, but
First overall pick since it's the first time they got the first pick since Dwight, 2004.
yeah, and it feels just like every year they draft that the best part of the draft ends right before
Yeah.
then. I mean, they had a lottery pick and they had to take Mo Bamba. But at the top of that draft was stacked, and then it just dropped to Mo Bamba. And then you had the year they drafted Cole Anthony. Once again, just good players up top, and then it just seems like the draft always just dips down right before them.
Yeah,
So it's crazy that they finally have it. They have the pick of the litter, and there's really three players that are considered the top three. Um, so it'll be interesting to see who they pick. I want them. I think they should take Jabari
yeah,
Smith. I'm a Jabari Smith guy. Um, I think he would pair nicely with the guards they have. But yeah, I mean that Mo Bamba draft. You had Jaren Jackson Jr. go fourth, Trey Young go fifth, and then Mo Bamba go sixth, and then Wendell Carter went
yeah,
seventh, and they ended up trading for him. But
man.
yeah, so the Magic fans. I mean, I'm in Florida now. I was happy when the Orlando Magic got the first pick, bring some excitement um, to the ozone. So, I mean, that's one thing I am thinking though. Jalen Suggs actually played with Chet in high school, I believe,
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if that'll have some effect into what they pick, who they pick. Um, I like Holmgren. I'm just not. I'm not very high on him. I would take him like third out of the top three.
yeah,
Maybe he proves me wrong. Hope he does, but I just think Jabari's next level. I think his body's built a little better, and his skill set and his fluidity at his size. I mean, he shot over 40% from the three, um, and I think he has a lot of potential. I think Paolo, just a big body wing. It's hard not to take just like a wing with ball handling skills, with guard skills. Now, so it'll be interesting to see what
yeah.
happens.
I want Jabari to go number one overall too, because I just think I got to see Jabari play in person this year, like court, like right first row on the baseline at Mizzou versus Auburn, super fun game. Jabari actually had a really bad game. He shot like 2 for 15, but I just look at him and his physical build, and his build kind of reminds me a little bit of like Jason Tatum a little bit. Like I don't know if you probably see it a little bit too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's yeah. I think he's got a high ceiling. Um, I see no problems with his build. Well, I look at Chet and I feel like he's slim. He's slim. Um, but NBA weight rooms. We discussed this earlier this week. NBA weight rooms are no joke. But I'm higher on Jabari Smith than I am Chet. Um,
Yeah, and we'll definitely do a deeper dive into the draft later on after the playoffs once we get closer to that draft date. But draft lottery just happened, so we just wanted to mention that top order and talk about a little bit the Magic and the decision they're going to have to make coming up. So,
all right.
but we can go right into what we saw last night, game one of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Heat and the Celtics. Liam, what did you think? I mean, just talk me through your thought process as we went quarter to quarter in
So,
that game.
I mean, I'm gonna talk about like hours before, like game one. I expected the Heat to take game one on their home floor. But the game started off. I think the Celtics started off seven zip, and that defense looked smothering at the start. Um, and the Celtics just looked like they were a level above the Heat for the entire first half. I mean, what was it? I think Tatum had like 21 first half points. Peyton Pritchard was hitting the shots. Um, you Aaron Nesmith had a nice block. He had one nice block. That's a little.
Yeah, he came in and brought some
He had a nice
energy. I
he had a
mean,
nice
he had a
block.
couple of blocks and some good energy off the bench after only playing like 7 minutes in the last series. So that was
Yeah,
interesting.
honestly, this is it. Yeah, I did not like, but obviously, next man up mentality. They're missing two defensive anchors. Al Horford, who has proven he's a really lockdown defender. He locked up Giannis. Well, not locked up. he did like a excuse me, definitely not like, but
Come on.
I mean like he played great defense on Giannis for for defending Giannis he played great defense on him. Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year, you know, so missing those guys was definitely key. So I like obviously that's why that um had a factor in my prediction of the Heat taking game one. Um, so the Celtics, I believe, were up like 10 or 11 end of the at half, and then all of a sudden the Heat just came storming back. Jimmy Butler turned it up. He had, I think, in 27 second half points, something like that. He had a solid first half, but that second half was different. It was a bandit. I think I saw a possession where they got like two or three straight steals and just like fast break buckets, and it was just like wow, the momentum, real huge momentum shifters, and they just owned the Celtics in that second or like just that third quarter. That third quarter was crazy. Celtics won the fourth, but either way,
Yeah, no, they
yeah,
ran away with it in the
hmm
third.
it was just too
Blew them
much.
out of the
Yeah,
water.
too much for the Celtics to come back.
Um, I talked about the smothering defense that the Celtics played. I mean, in the third quarter, the level of defense that the Heat played, and not just Jimmy Butler, or not just one
The
player,
team,
everyone on the
the team.
court was diving after loose balls, was ready, and just wanted to get out, run. They wanted to get steals and go. Gabe Vincent had some steals. Gabe Vincent
Hmm.
played well, um, but man, that I've never seen a player um, care so little about the regular season than Jimmy Butler. I mean, he is
It's just proven,
he
statistically
he's
proven.
he just goes and he's just during the regular season he's competitive. He wants to win, but you know he'll pass. He'll have games where he only shoots 5 shots, and then the playoffs come around and I don't even know who to compare him to. His level of competitiveness and just I'm he has that confidence of I'm the best player here.
He's made for the big
It's like
nights.
he yeah, it's like he gets offended. He's on the court and he's like Jason Tatum thinks he can be on this same court as me and he just gets offended. But I've never seen someone's play like drastically differ from the regular season to the playoffs as Jimmy Butler's done. Is
In a
and
positive way too. Like sometimes you'll see guys like
exactly.
drastically drop off, but like in a positive way. Like Jimmy Butler just steps up for the big moments. You can tell he's built for them. I mean, took the Heat to the bubble as a I think as a 5 seed in the and took the Heat to the finals in the bubble. Played well there. This playoffs he's been so incredible. Definitely a top player, top two, top three, top one. You can, I think Luka's probably the best this playoffs, but you can argue any of those. Luka, Giannis, Jimmy, Tatum. You can argue those guys, but yeah, Jimmy's been special, and it's good to see as a Bulls fan, see a former Bull doing his thing. It does hurt like dang, we could have just built around this guy. We could be in the Eastern Conference Finals and the finals right now, but we had Garpax, so like probably wouldn't.
Yeah. He's a Heat guy. He is built for Pat Riley and that
Mm-hmm.
system. And I mean, you see it every Heat player from from Jimmy Butler to Gabe Vincent to Max Strus to Dwayne Dedman. They all have that instinct, that Jimmy Butler
Hmm.
mentality of
They're
like,
dogs,
who
bro. They're
cares?
dogs.
We're here. They're a team filled with dogs, 1 through 15. They have how many? I don't even remember how many guys. Like a ridiculous amount of their players have been in the G League,
Yes,
and
it's a lot.
it doesn't matter. They have full confidence in each other, and they play harder than everyone else. And this series is going to be so fun to watch. I think it's obviously going to be big for the
Hmm.
Celtics when they bring Marcus Smart back and when they bring Al Horford back. And it depends if Jason Tatum can. Obviously, he played extremely well in that first half. If he isn't even half of that in the second half, I mean, it's a totally different
Yeah,
game. But obviously, the Heat defense is something that you can't joke about,
You're
and
no joke.
they're the real deal too. But I think this series is going to be a dogfight. I think they're just every game is going to be guys on the floor getting after it, a lot of trash talk, a lot of little, shoving arguments, a little, fake
Yeah,
fights. But I think that series is going to have a lot of that. And as a basketball fan, boy, do I want to see this in a game seven.
yeah. Oh
Do I want
man,
to see Jimmy Butler and Jason Tatum and all those dogs just in a game seven going at each other? That's all I ask for. Um, but yeah, this series has been the start of the series was incredible, and I think the rest of the series will live up to it. I mean, even if the Heat win game two, I mean that's what they're
hmm
supposed to do. They have home court advantage. They're supposed to win the first two at home. Um, Celtics can just as easily do the same thing at their house, and then it's 2-2 and you're tied. Um, but I do think game two is a big game because if they win game two, um, then Boston has to win 4 out of 5, and
yeah. That would
that's
be
hard to
tough.
do against a really good team. Um, so it'll be interesting. I mean, the I'm a nerd. The level of coaching that we've seen in the last couple of rounds of the playoffs like gets me excited. Um, like you have Eric Spoelstra going up against Udoka, who first of all is a first year coach, and in the first little bit of the season, everyone's like, "Why did we hire this guy?" Boston fans were like, "Who is this
They're
guy? Why did we hire him?" He was getting a lot of stuff thrown his way, but does Brad Stevens and the Celtics organization look like geniuses right now or what? Because he is incredible and the team has bought into his system and he's able to call players out, and it's it's fun to watch the level of intensity that these coaches have. Eric Spoelstra with that serious face. Udoka is locked in. I mean, it's exciting. It really is. It's something that's fun. I mean, you don't really pay attention to it. I do, but you don't. It's like a chess match. The way these coaches are trying to counter each other and do all the little things because these are really two really good teams, and they need to execute really well to win. And the coaching has just been fun
Yeah,
for me.
no, I agree. I definitely agree. You hit everything on the head there. Uh, it's been fun. It's crazy. The whole mentality switch around Udoka has changed. I remember KOT4Q went into the Celtics Reddit after a really really bad loss they had. I want to say it was against the Knicks, and like the whole so much of the Reddit was like fire Udoka, and gosh, they're here in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they made that huge turnaround, and it's insane. It's been special to watch for sure. The Celtics are the real deal.
If someone came up to you in like November, December and said Celtics Eastern Conference Finals, wait, just wait. If someone said that to me, I'd be like, you're out of
Yeah,
your mind.
no, same.
This team is hot trash right now, and they can't figure anything out. And I've the the complete 180 that has been done in the middle of a season has been incredible, and it's it's something that you rarely see. You rarely see a team like that just like completely flips. Um, Weirdly enough, on the other side, kind of like the Mavericks. I mean, it feels like they were good,
Yes,
and then after that, that Kristaps trade, it seems like everything kind of just came together,
hmm
and they bought into their role, into the game plan. Another excellent coach, Jason Kidd, is just tearing like he's proven that this year he's a legit coach
definitely.
and he's doing a heck of a job. There's players that are playing to a level you wouldn't expect under him. I mean, you have Jalen Brunson, who, I mean, his first round was nuts. I think he had the most like points in his first round of the playoffs is like over anyone else. It was like some
It was
crazy
like
stat.
close to
And then
LeBron
you
and
have
MJ or something
Dorian
like that.
Finney-Smith. Yeah, yeah. And then you have Dorian Finney-Smith who's playing unreal, hitting threes, playing defense, getting to the rim. Maxi Kleber's spacing the floor. I don't know. Davis Bertans
dude.
The man signed a $90 million deal or $80 million deal, and then you never saw him again until now. And he is playing basketball. He's on the floor, and he's
He's
playing.
playing up to that
He's
deal
impact
now.
minutes. He's hitting threes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's crazy. It's like one player after another is just exceeding expectations under Jason Kidd, and that's something that I don't think many people
Yeah.
predicted the Mavericks in the
They
Western Conference
they
Final.
have supported Luca incredibly well. I think the Suns made like a massive. Luca had like really big numbers. I think it was game 1 and 2, and the Mavs the Suns' plan to adjust to that was just really focus on Luca, and then all of a sudden the Mavs roll like a key player like Reggie Bullock, Jalen Brunson, Davis Bertans, Kleba, Dorian Finney-Smith. They all just step up and start just lasering down threes and just killing the Suns. Like it, they truly an incredible. They've supported him incredibly. They've been so great these playoffs. I've loved watching the Mavs. The Mavs play their chemistry from top to bottom is so good too because you look at the Mavs bench, they are all up on their feet and celebrating. Sterling Brown has his jersey on, he's got his sweats on, he's like going crazy. Theo Pinson in street clothes going crazy. Like it's fun to see that energy. I think they've fed off that. There's just great morale in that locker room, and they're bought in as in that's the one thing. And out of out of I notice how bought in like all the Heat are, the Celtics are, the Mavs. They all have that in common. You touched on it with the Heat, but yeah, they're also bought in. The only team I feel like I kind of have a bit of a like I haven't seen like as much of a consistent spark watching as the Warriors. I just feel like Steph has lost a
Mm.
step. Clay is Clay had a nice game 6, but he hasn't been a consistent Clay. Jordan Poole's been fun. Um, Draymond, a great defender as usual. It's just
Fun,
I
yeah,
just haven't had as
that's the perfect word.
Jordan Poole. Yeah. I mean, man,
Yeah,
it's just they don't have the same like spark to me as those other four. However, I still think with experience they will make the finals. That's my prediction. I think because they're experienced.
yeah.
But
It's tough to bet against the Warriors. Yeah, it's tough to bet against because they are they are the Warriors and they've already won three,
mm-hmm,
and it's not like just Steph has only won three.
Draymond,
No, I mean
Clay,
you have Steph's won three, Clay's won three, Draymond's won three, Looney has been there. I mean they have a good like that good solid core, and the coaches and Steve Kerr's been there, so they're experienced and they all have been through it. They know what it takes, and I won't be I wouldn't be surprised if they just completely demolish
yeah,
the Mavericks. But at the same time, I think it's going to be very difficult, like a very good series. And I think Luca. I mean, watching Luca is a gift. It's like a
special.
privilege. I feel like to watch Luca. I feel like how I feel when I watch Kevin Durant. It's like I can't believe I'm able to watch this. I feel so lucky. But Luca just has so much fun playing basketball. He's smiling, he's laughing. He'll drop the defender and hit a step back and just like smile and smirk on his way back. But he I don't he had one of the craziest rookie years like ever, and then he's gone even higher every year. He just keeps elevating his game. Don't know how it's possible. The only thing like I can see him get like improving on is his 3-point shot, like just getting it to like 40%. But that's not saying he's a bad 3-point shooter because it seems like he hits every big three possible. Um, but it'll be a fun series. It'll be interesting to see how the two teams play each other. It'll be interesting to see how the Warriors attack Luca, especially because I think Andrew Wiggins will be the primary defender, and he's a good defender. I don't know if Luca torched like had his way with Mikal Bridges.
Yeah,
It's hard for me to think of a defender really that's gonna like stop him in his
I think
tracks.
He's one of those guys who's unstoppable at this point too. Like I've heard he's very hard to guard due to like his body type too, because it's like he's not like he's not like super slim or super like muscular. He's just kind of like got like this body. His body moves different than a lot of players, so that's a lot of guys say that. And yeah, like you said, Luka's so special to watch, man. I am looking forward to seeing Luka just be this like constant superstar, talent, for the next however many years. He's so special. And I think if you're a Mavs fan or like around the Mavs, you have to be beyond happy with where your team's at. I don't think you should care what happens with the series. Getting to the conference finals this year was something probably like
It's a win.
yeah, and probably something a great percentage of NBA fans did not expect. So they've already won. They've already won this year. I am beyond impressed with them.
Yeah, if there's one big takeaway from this playoffs for me, it's that the NBA, the league itself, is in an amazing place. Um, it's sad. LeBron's kind of like maybe reaching his end. I don't know. He's still great. Kevin Durant is maybe hitting a decline. Like all like that generation of players is like slowly maybe going down, but the generation that is rising is incredible. You had Ja Morant like playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
Luka Doncic. You
Tatum.
have Devin
Yeah,
Booker, Jason Tatum. Um, just the amount of talent that is like from the ages of like 20 to 25 is absurd, and the league is in very good hands.
it,
That's
it's
for
good
sure.
to see the playoffs be way more unpredictable. That's fun. It's
Yeah,
it like those years where I think the Dubs were incredible to watch, but it sucked to have that like unpredictability. Like everybody knew like
yeah,
Warriors are gonna dominate when when they picked up KD, and
yeah.
their first year that was crazy though. I mean, no, I don't. People that huge like step up after the firing of Mark Jackson was crazy special
Mm,
from them. But like, yeah, I'm glad to see the game of basketball be more unpredictable, and
yeah.
it's
It's an open race now.
very very open race.
Feel like there's like 10 teams that can actually contend when the
Exactly.
playoffs start. So that's been fun. All right, last thing, make your finals prediction. Who's going to the finals?
This is hard. Uh, Celtics. I want. Let me clarify this. I want the Heat to win the
Yeah,
series. I want
yeah,
the Heat to win the series. I think the Celtics are gonna take it though. TD Garden ain't no joke.
yeah.
It's
Gotcha.
hard. The Bucks stole two in TD, I think they stole
Yeah.
two in TD Garden, but I don't know, man. It's hard to steal games there. So I think the Celtics will win. Hmm, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Maybe the Celtics will come out of the East. The Warriors will come out of the West, and the Celtics
Okay.
will win the
Okay.
chip.
Yo. Okay.
It might be wrong,
Wow.
but
So my favorite part of this year's playoffs has been me when someone asks me who do I want to win, like each series. I'm just like, I just want it to go to seven. That's like all I say.
yeah.
I have like no dog in the fight. I maybe I enjoy watching someone play a little more, but this one's hard for me. I'm gonna go the opposite of the Eastern Conference. I'm gonna take the
I
Heat
want that
and
to
say
happen,
Heat go back.
but
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Heat go back to it, back to the championship. And in the West, I I would love for the Mavericks to win. I really would. But I'll go Heat Warriors, and I'll go Warrior. Or no. I'll go Heat. I'll go Heat winning
I
it
hope
all.
you're right. I hope
Um,
you're right. Trust me, I hope you're right.
I'll give it to the Heat in six. Um, but man, it's gonna be fun, and I can't wait to keep talking about it and stay updated. you already know there's going to be so many storylines throughout the Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals. So that'll be exciting to follow. I'm sure we'll get back on a pod and we'll continue to talk more about it. Um, but yeah, anything else?
No, I think we covered everything that's going on. It was fun first episode to record for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great first episode. We're gonna try to throw up some pods more regularly, maybe like once a week or so, depending on what's going on with the NBA, what's going on in basketball. But yeah, it's just a hoops pod, and we're here to talk hoops. We appreciate you all, and we'll catch you on the next one.